I was a little surprised by the acquisition of Atuna coming from Man City on loan. You know, we saw that with New York City and Angel Herrera. I was a little surprised, but you had a conversation with Teclosa about that.
I did. The new GM, the Dutchman Dennis Teclosa, who explained that if NYCFC had taken him from Manchester City, because of the sometimes arcane rules of MLS, he would have been classed as a designated player, and they didn't want that. He's one of round about 40 players of similar stature, similar promise, similar age at Manchester City, who they are keen to loan out. And I think Teclosa's hopeful that if they do a good job with him, it might open the door to more of those products coming in this direction. There is Dennis Teclosa, who was only appointed in December, formerly with the Mexican Federation. Very highly rated football administrator. Blanco.
And there's Dennis Teclosa. You were talking about that. It's interesting. I felt that the resurrection of the LA Galaxy after missing the playoffs for the last 2 seasons started with the hiring of that man, then it led to the new coach. But John, in all seriousness about the Galaxy, it's about stars showing up and playing big in big moments. We're seeing 2 of those guys returning in Ibrahimovic and Alessandrini tonight.
And we're getting strong hints, Taylor, as well, that another player is on the way, Giancarlo Gonzalez, Costa Rican centre-back from Bologna in Italy. Skjelvik. Felcher. And Ibrahimovic against the base of the post. How on earth did he turn that into a chance?
You've got to be kidding me. I mean, we saw one of the best goals we've ever seen in Toronto last summer, but watch his right leg. I mean, as a defender, Cascante, he's doing anything he can to get between the ball and the attacking player. And then here you go, you've got a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", with the agility and the touch. That's ridiculous. For Jeff Attinella, lucky that goalpost is round and that ball's coming out.
Depth on the corner. And a few oohs and ahs as that moment of genius from Ibrahimovic was replayed on the giant video boards at either end of Dignity Health Sports Park. 1 year to the day since he made the grandest of entrances into the US soccer scene.
And I sat with him for about 5 minutes today on my way to the stadium when we got here, and I just was asking him, you know, so much was made about last season and coming off the knee injury, whether or not he would play on turf, but he seemed very apprehensive about this Achilles situation. He makes his return tonight, but it's interesting because Friday they're going to play a game on turf. He just still seems like he needs that little extra 5–10% confident with that Achilles. I think that play in itself should tell him he's feeling okay.
Yeah. He's been playing, certainly in training, with a compression bandage on his left lower leg to support the Achilles. It's a foul by Jelna. Platform here for the Galaxy. Jonathan Dos Santos over the ball.
Set pieces have been an issue for the Portland Timbers defending. Remember, at Cincinnati, Kendall Waston wide open. Keep an eye on Polenta and Ibrahimovic on this back post, looking for one of those picks, for one of them to be freed up on this back post here.
Dos Santos and Ibrahimovic. After Felcher had lunged for the ball just in front of him.
That's still not good enough defending. And assistant coach for the Portland Timbers, Carlos Ramos, is on his feet right now having the conversation. You can't get caught flat-footed. Jorge Morea, at some point, you've got to foul your runner, Ibrahimovic, wide open 6 yards from goal.
Corona. Skelnick.
See, now for the Galaxy, John, as long as they build momentum in possession, it's going to drive the back five deeper for the Portland Timbers, and then Felcher and Skelvick are going to push higher up the field with more space, the ability to combine, and now you're forcing Valeri and Abobisi to defend in deeper positions. There's no outlet.
Ibrahimovic is offside.
See, the last thing you want to do with a guy that's creative on his own, and especially between his ears, he may not have the legs, is when you defend this deep, whether you've got 3 center backs, 4 center backs, it doesn't matter, because he's always looking for that play off the back shoulder. Zlatan off by maybe a half a yard.
Felcher, and Antuna was lurking, and Moreira did really well.
John, he's got to recognize that Antuna's in front of him. So look at this run from Jorge Moreira. That's a 25, 30-yard recovery on his debut. Great play from Moreira on the back post.
Corner's going to be taken by Roman Alessandrini. Plenty for the Galaxy supporters behind that goal to enthuse about so far. Including that wonderfully dexterous moment from Ibrahimovic. Another corner. This time it's short to Dos Santos. Alessandrini. Sebastian the Jet. Ibrahimovic. Flag was up again.
I do like the energy between Leggett and Corona, because they do have a good understanding that when one goes forward, the other can drop deep and provide that balance with Jonathan Dos Santos and look for that ball over the top. But again, the Portland Timbers inside their own defensive third, no pressure on the ball whatsoever.
Moreira. MLS on ESPN is presented by Audi. The Audi Player Index tracks every move of every match. To learn more, visit mlssoccer.com/Audi. And in part by Gatorade Thirst Quencher, the proven sports fuel. Guzman. Moreira just a tad short with the pass. Valeri. Dispossessing Jonathan Dos Santos. Actually cut out by Corona. Blanco. Oh, took an alert to it. Dielman. Chara. Antuna for the Galaxy, taken out by an industrial challenge from Diego Chara.
It's such a good foul, though, from Diego Chara, because he knows and recognizes that the Portland Timbers are susceptible to that counter in that situation. Those are the little things when you hear his teammates and his coaching staff say he cleans up so many plays when we're in trouble. So many people, John, talk about the reputation of Diego Chara. He fouls a lot, yellow cards and whatnot, but the reality is, how many of those are in situations that are necessary? And then he has the occasional ear flick that goes trending on Twitter that is unnecessary.
Here's Skelvick. And the shot. Always just that touch too high from the boot of Daniel Steres.
Well, one thing's for certain is that LA is getting forward with their fullbacks, especially Skelvic coming forward here and taking the advice from Zlatan moments ago where he said, hit it first time. That's a better ball in from Skelvic. We've seen a couple of instances from Portland coming forward, and a lot of it's off this man here, Sebastian Blanco. Good save from David Bingham.
Berbison. Guzman. Swept away by Dos Santos. Fresh from his first international goal for Mexico during the week. Scored a 4-2 win over Paraguay. Levi Stadium. Chao. Blanco. Valeri. Felcher only as far as Valentin. Berbisi. Polenta's header yields a corner kick for the Timbers. And there's no particular hurry to take this. Valeri has been deputed to do so. Getting a robust reception from the LA Riot squad, the quadrant of Galaxy supporters in that far corner right behind him.
Another byproduct of three center backs, John, is you have an advantage on set pieces. Gielna, Tuiloma, and Cascante coming forward.
Valeri. And Gielna. Blanco. Guzman. By Steres. A very positive relationship between the two sets of supporters of these clubs. And then to the defender. They've got together the Timbers Army and the various supporters groups of the Galaxy to help collect donations of footballing equipment for a youth football academy in El Salvador. 300 or so paid-up members of the Timbers Army are here in person. Corona. Skelvic. Santos. Ibrahimovic. Trying to persuade the referee to give a free kick. The Venezuelan Felcher. And now the Jet. And Atenella, well aware of the impending arrival of Ibrahimovic. The flag was up anyway. Not enough for Ted Uncle to give.
No, but there's no real secret to the way LA wants to play. The moment the ball turns over, they are going to look for that direct ball into him, maybe when space opens up. But I do think, other than the miraculous chance that he takes out of nothing, the Portland Timbers system is set up well against the LA Galaxy.
Giovanni Savarese was talking to us this morning about moments, big moments in games where perhaps one or two of his players have switched off and all their previous good work has counted for very little.
Well, John, how often do you hear managers around the world, they say the 5 minutes going into halftime, the 5 minutes coming out of halftime. The Portland Timbers have given up goals in very bad spots that have killed them. They were easily the better team against the Colorado Rapids. Yes, it's in the snow, but you score 3 goals on the road, you should be winning that game. But the Timbers fans at home will remind you and I, they started 0-3-2 last season and then got hot. This year, different than last, they're playing the first 12 games on the road. So in my mind, an outsider looking at it, I'm thinking 17, 18, 20 points, and you're in an ideal situation. Because how often in MLS history have we seen DC United, Toronto, RSL, Sporting Kansas City, when you have that amount of home games in the second part of the year and maybe a couple new signings, you can make a run.
Those games will be played at. It's going to be a splendidly appointed Providence Park. Brand new locker rooms, new video board. I was slightly disappointed to learn this morning that the one area that hasn't been renovated is the broadcast booth. There's still no corner bar in there.
There may be with you.
Slim chance, I feel.
Oh, especially with that box that carries your lip mic in it. What is that thing, made of gold?
Antuna. Skjelvik. Second time Antuna. Dos Santos. Corona. Antuna. Sarek Valentin. Blanco. Diego Chara. Ebobisi. Moreira, the new man. Cascante. Valeri. Chara. More games in MLS for the Timbers than any other player in history. There's Diego Valeri, who scored more goals than any other player in history for the club. Dielna. It's always nice to get insight from pitch level, and Sebastian Salazar can tell us a little more about the thinking of Schelotto, the Galaxy coach.
Yeah, guys, you'll probably be able to see it a little bit better from up there, but keep an eye on Jonathan Dos Santos' positioning, especially as it relates to Diego Valeri. I've already seen Guillermo Barros Schelotto twice talk to Dos Santos. He doesn't want Valeri receiving the ball in behind the Galaxy midfielder. So I think your vantage point will see it a little bit better, but watch Dos Santos and how close he stays with Valeri.
Thank you, Sebastian.
The only problem with that, John, is anytime you're trying to man-mark someone, and I'm not saying that's the situation, because there is a good spot for Jonathan Dos Santos, is that if Valeri recognizes that he's being man-marked, you move 3-4 yards, space opens up for others.
Ibrahimovic. Corona. Alessandrini to Ibrahimovic, who goes over. It's a penalty. Buffeted from behind.
experience, understanding the situation. That's what this is from Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But the argument here from Claude Diona, you tell me that Claude Diona doesn't make any contact. I mean, initially it does look like, yes, you've got Zlatan, he's going to receive it with his back to goal. But watch Diona off his backside. He does run right through him. I mean, so the argument here is what exactly? Zlatan knows that Diona's coming through him, so he gets between the body and the ball, but you can't tell me that Diona doesn't run right through Zlatan. But that's an understanding and experienced player, knowing that it's not about receiving that ball, but knowing any kind of contact, I'm going down.
Ibrahimovic! Clean as you like. Always ready to accept a claim. Highlight of the game was that wondrous effort 20-odd minutes ago, but the most important point of the game is that from the spot. Ibrahimovic's second goal of the season.
We knew the penalty, we was going to get Attinella going the other way, but I just go back to the understanding of the situation and where you are on the field. Zlatan Ibrahimovic knew the situation with Claude Diona behind him. As we look at our target goalpost cam, Jeff Attinella going the other way. Galaxy up 1-0 at home.
And Portland's tally of goals conceded this season rises to 11 in just their fourth fixture. Abobasi, Valeri, offside Abobasi from the return pass. Well, he knows every trick in the book. In fact, he wrote most of the book. All he was looking for was physical contact inside the penalty area, an excuse to go over, and Dielna more than provided it. The goal greeted by Ticketek, floating gently from Californian skies, which are ever darkening now at this time of day. The Jet. Again, Rolf Feltscher. Third time for the fullback. Does have a sense of adventure about him, but may have picked up a little knock there. Scant sympathy for Feltscher from Claude Dielna. Is signalling that saw no foul. Player's going to restart with a throw-in. This is Alessandrini. (21 goals in Zlatan Ibrahimovic's last 21 appearances. And now a flare-up involving Blanco, Alessandrini. Peacemakers on the scene fairly quickly, led by Valeri. Ted Uncle appears to have a clear handle on things. Wild attempt to win the ball from Blanco, which angered Alessandrini.
Yeah, but it's also frustration settling in for the Portland Timbers. You said it, John. You've given up 11 goals in your first 4 games after making that kind of run in the playoffs and getting the MLS Cup. Sometimes you need a little bit of bite and fight to get back into this thing, but that's a dangerous place to give up a foul and a set piece to the Galaxy.
And the head of Feltscher, that also of Steres going for the ball.
Jonathan Dos Santos just looks so much more comfortable in this system, this style of play, than he did at times last season. And you mentioned it, his goal with Mexico. I just think Tata Martino's system, I think you're going to get a big 2019 MLS season from Jonathan Dos Santos. And I think some people will say, well, coincidentally, is it because his brother's off the roster and he's out of the way?
And out of the shadow.
I've always felt Jonathan was the better player. He's had the better career, and I think you may see that in 2019.
Ebobisi. Free kick, Portland. Valeri. Corona. Steres. Galaxy beaten just once in their last 12 home games at what is now called Dignity Health Sports Park. Skjelvik. Leggett. Antuna. Leggett. Dos Santos. Goalkeeper's ball and also a foul on Jeff Attinella.
I'm just wondering at halftime, is Sava Racing and his staff at some point have to address their right side defensively? Because so much for the LA Galaxy has come off their left. And Antuna's coming inside. He's in a pocket of space. Skjelvik then can come forward. He can overlap. And then Joe Corona can then slide over. But Jorge Morea in his debut has been chasing shadows. Is part of that because Guzman's playing a little bit too far forward than I think for Savarese and his staff's liking. Or is the other part that there's been little support with Portland going forward?
Ebobisi. Blanco. Chance here for Portland. Opens up a bit for Blanco.
Comes off a bad turnover from the back four of the LA Galaxy, and then Blanco's coming forward. But watch out of your screen, Skjelvik slide in right now. If he doesn't make that commitment, then Blanco can take that half a step, prepare for his finish. But because of Skjelvik coming over, sliding over, Blanco has to speed up that decision, thus the ball going over the bar. I will say Skjelvik looks 100 times better and more comfortable at left back than he did at center back, where he played all of 2018. I still think the LA Galaxy in their front office want to assess that fullback position when Giancarlo Gonzalez gets here, but in Skjelvik's defense, I think he looks more comfortable at left back.
Sebastian Blanco. Jorge Moreira. Chara. Once more Blanco. Dielna with a heavy first touch, and he had to go chasing the ball, and now he's out of position. And here's Alessandrini. And Antuna is herring up the pitch on this near side. Ibrahimovic. happy with the taking of the free kick. Or indeed with what Ibrahimovic has been saying to him. The root of all this was that Ibrahimovic bundled Chara out of the way fairly unceremoniously, rather unnecessarily. It is an Ibrahimovic penalty that separates these teams. It's Valentin. Chara. Blanco. Valentin. Blocked by Chara, but with the use of a hand. Now the quarterfinals of the German Cup kick off this Tuesday. Augsburg hosting Tyler Adams and Red Bull Leipzig. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN News and also streaming live on the ESPN app. And how about that pass by Tyler Adams for Leipzig yesterday that led to a goal? Fantastic.
It's only going to feed into that discussion of whether or not Tyler Adams should play center midfield for Greg Berhalter and the national team. Red Bull Leipzig hasn't lost since he's been introduced to the 11. I don't think it's a coincidence. But that ball from Adams was ridiculous.
Paulson scored the goal from it. Red Bull Leipzig handsomely victorious. Cascante. Guzman. Moreira. Chara. Guzman. Valeri. Guzman. And turned in by Abobasi. And whilst it might not be spectacular, what it is beautifully constructed. They played their way right through LA Galaxy. And that is a coach's dream.
1-2 touch passing, movement, playing between the lines, all of this in this example. So now you draw out, and because LA Galaxy are too slow to recognize the situation, Skelvic's too slow sliding over, Polenta's chasing shadows, 1-2 touch passing right between the lines, and LA Galaxy on their heels, Portland Timbers with a massive goal at the end of the first half. Great look there from Guzman, simple finish for Abobasi, but it was all about the pattern of play and the LA Galaxy chasing shadows at home. Portland tying it 1-1 on the road.
Well, there on the pitch tonight are some terrific individual talents, but there is no I in the word team. And Abobasi on the end of a magnificently constructed team move. Forward by Polenta. And for once, Portland have struck rather than been struck at a crucial time in a game on the cusp of half-time. Coach was talking about big moments that have gone against them so far this season. Now they've seized an opportunity of their own, having conjured it up very much all their own work.
John, let's go back to the goal and whether or not Guzman is in an offside position. Watch where, as we freeze this, Polenta's right shoulder and Guzman's right shoulder. That's why it didn't go to video review. Was it clear and obvious? The answer is no. Right decision from the referee.
Well, that was pretty good timing by the Timbers and by Abobasi in particular, who has swept in an equalising goal, cancelling out the earlier penalty, won and scored by Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Coming up, Carlos Vela's hot start and several other narrative lines from a goal-laden weekend in MLS. But let's hear from the LA Galaxy coach with Sebastian.
Guillermo, your impressions of the first half?
I think we managed the ball, we managed the game, but we couldn't finish the first half winning. I think we deserve to win it, but you know they got a good player and they make a really good play and they score at the tie the game.
Thank you very much, Coach. Good luck in the second half. Guys, there are the words of Guillermo Barros-Schelotto. I send it back up to you.
OK, so one apiece, Sebastian, at the break. Ibrahimovic with the penalty in the 33rd minute, 11 minutes later. Terrific individual play brought together in 4 or 5 instances to form a team goal, scored by Jeremy Abobasi. It's 1-1. We'll reflect in a moment.
more about LAFC for me. First team in Major League Soccer with 4 wins this year, 401. That man right there. Remember, Bob Bradley last year said we need a little bit more from Carlos Vela. How's that? 6 goals in his first 5 games.
And how about this? For match conditions, Atlanta submerged beneath a giant puddle in Columbus.
Yeah, and Atlanta needs a week off desperately. Pedro Santos scores an early goal. Atlanta couldn't get off Noah's Ark. Big 3 points at home for the Columbus crew.
Didn't see the worst of it there, but really the second half it was unplayable. What about Philly? Back-to-back wins now.
Yeah, that's massive too, and it's also 2 shutouts. Marco Fabian scores a goal, but this is more about David Alcom. You're getting something from him. 3 goals, 2 assists in his last 2 games.
And how prominent is Paxton Pomykal, the 19-year-old, likely to be?
Special. Credit to FC Dallas for hiring Luchi Gonzalez, who knows the young kids. 3 of their 4 goals are young, homegrown players, but Paxton Pomykal is one to watch for the future, and now.
Filling in the other details, Seattle held scoreless at Vancouver late last night. Chicago with the only goal against the Red Bulls. Houston scoring 4 in Colorado. And earlier today, a spectacular free kick. Not sure whether he meant it or not.
Did Wayne Rooney mean it?
No, he didn't.
Goal's a goal, pal.
Yeah, oh, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? It was your currency and your mantra. But yes, DC United victorious again at Orlando by 2-1. So if we look at the weekend as a whole, apart from talking about your wondrous approach shot to the 18th at Palm Springs,
if you want to watch it.
No, we don't want to talk. We're talking soccer, football. So in MLS, what's your takeaway from the weekend?
Three things, and I'm going to start with 2 of those in the Columbus-Atlanta game. First and foremost, with the regular season being a little bit more important than in recent years because of the playoff seeding. That's a massive decision from an inexperienced referee to play that game out. You knew from the weather conditions, the weather reports, you also knew from the weather delay, unequivocally that game shouldn't have been played. I think Major League Soccer and the referees, I think Howard Webb, I think everyone would agree with that. But it's also about Atlanta United. Listen, Columbus, you're tied in first, 10 points, that's massive. But this is about Atlanta United. You're in last place. And the last time Frank de Boer had a league win, Joseph Martinez was on the other team in Serie A in October 2016. Massive decisions to be made in Atlanta. And it must be nice, John. Must be nice when you give up 14 goals in your first 4 games. And in San Jose, Matias Almeida says it's a 4-year project. Good luck telling that to your fans.
Well, in the first year of that project, at current rates of progress, they will concede 119 goals. Here, we've seen 2 goals. Excellent in their own way. Ibrahimovic winning and converting a penalty. But what a terrific team equaliser from Jeremy Abobisin. This halftime report is presented by Audi. The Audi Player Index tracks every move of every match. To learn more, visit MLSsoccer.com/Audi.
We both know you're not.
You know, movement from the back end of the car, like all that rush is what I live for. See more at celebratingsoccer.com.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do. I can tell you who to side to. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Is it true Cricket has iPhone XR?
With the amazing liquid retina display.
Is it true that you wear a wig?
Could a wig do this?
This copyrighted telecast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.
Welcome back to the Audi half-time report. And that report has a half-time score of 1 goal apiece between LA Galaxy and the Portland Timbers. Now let's take a look at the Audi player index, and Taylor, we can focus on Sporting Kansas City after their 7-1 victory over Montreal.
And it was all three players. Obviously, Johnny Russell coming off his first goal for Scotland. He has 2 goals, 1 assist. Jerso Fernandez, Nemeth gets his hat-trick. And I said it in our previous break, this team has a quiet confidence to them going into that CONCACAF Champions League semifinal leg 1, but they need to get a goal on the road. We see them next week against FC Cincinnati on our air.
Okay, we're heading back for the second half very shortly. This halftime report is presented by Audi. The Audi Player Index tracks every move of every match. To learn more, visit MLSsoccer.com/Audi.
We both know you're not just looking for pork chops. You're searching for something more red-blooded. Right this way. You thirst for adrenaline. You hunger for raw power. Well, you've come to the right place. The road is yours. Dig in.
Phil, why don't you give us some color on what we've seen so far?
Absolutely. The Boilermakers in rich black jerseys with accents of old gold that could also pass for a sunflower shade of yellow.
You know, color commentary isn't actually commentary on what the colors are.
Yellow's called a secondary color, Ken.
Just okay is not okay, whether it's announcers or wireless networks. AT&T is America's best wireless network, according to America's biggest test. Now with 5G evolution, the first step to 5G. More for your thing. That's our thing.
Watch me working now. Baby, do you like the way I work it now? Baby, come on and let me show you how. Working now, working now, working now. Baby, what's the working like? Working now, working now, working now. Baby, what's the working like? Baby, watch me working now. Are you mine?
Tired, huh?
NBA superstar.
Gatorade Zero. All the electrolytes, zero sugar. Get more out of zero.
MLS on ESPN is presented by Audi. And away we go with the second half at Dignity Health Sports Park. LA Galaxy 1, Portland Timbers 1. Tantalisingly poised. And a good response by the visiting Timbers to falling behind to an Ibrahimovic penalty. Excellent team goal to restore parity on the stroke of half-time. It's Alessandrini, the Jet. Ball. It's sample the thoughts of Giovanni Savarese, the Portland Timbers coach. He was talking to Sebastian Salazar as he re-emerged a few moments ago.
I can tell you Gio was not happy with the penalty call. He says Zlatan looks for the contact. For him, he said it should not have been called. As far as what Portland needs to do in the second half, he wants them to be on the ball more. He says once they start to move it, find that confidence, he thinks they'll be able to pressure this Galaxy team a bit more than they did in the first half.
Okay, Sebastian, thank you. You would say that if you were the coach, though, wouldn't you, about the penalty award?
Yeah, but Giovanni Savarese was a very good attacking player in his own right. He knows 100% that's a penalty.
Here's Alessandrini. Ibrahimovic.
If anything, I'm a little surprised, though, he didn't say he needs more out of Diego Valeri, but this is what Giovanni Savarese is upset about. And I'm sorry, for me, it's a penalty. Whether Zlatan's looking for it or not, it doesn't detract from the fact that Diona tried to run through a wall. But to go back to my point, John, I just think Valeri gave the ball away too often in the first half, and at times he's trying to do too much, and then other times when he does have the ball at his feet, he's too deep. I think he's got to be a little bit more patient, stay higher up the field, and allow Blanco and Guzman to release the pressure. And then ultimately, I think all the spaces against the two center backs of the LA Galaxy.
Jonathan Dos Santos, unfortunately, an idiotic supporter has arrived on the pitch. They won't allow him the glory of showing him, but he's being pursued by two stewards.
Yeah, but see, this is just, I don't understand this. And so now you have 7, 8 security guards running around trying to chase this fan, and listen to the crowd. Listen to the 22,000 cheering him on.
Well, he has now been, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but should we just say neutralised? I don't think he'll be playing any further part in the evening. Tackle to the ground on the apron of the pitch, and hopefully we can get underway again shortly.
But John, how do you stop that?
You never can, fully. You never can, unless you have fences around the pitch, and no one wants that.
But let me ask the question, what if you penalize the team? Does it work?
I think the problem is that someone as idiotic as...
They don't care about the team,
it's about the team.
I just remember when the Monica Seles thing happened, and I was a teenager at the time, and then eventually when I left home, my dad, who played 10 plus years in the NASL, he said, if a fan's ever on the field, you go the other way. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Here's Blanco. Moreira. It was a little touch from Obobisi, it didn't get it. Of course, we had the incident in the so-called Second City Derby in the English Championship a couple of weeks ago, where a spectator ran onto the pitch and attacked Jack Grealish, one of the Aston Villa players at St Andrews. Moreira. Obobisi. Sebastian Blanco. He went all the way to the byline. Blanco once again. Valeri.
See, that's where you want Diego Valeri. If you're a Timbers fan at home, and if you're Giovanni Savarese and the staff, that's where you want Valeri. In the first half, you saw him close to Guzman, close to Blanco, and even at times close to Diego Chara. It was a good little spell there from the Portland Timbers coming forward.
Portland players done more damage managed the Galaxy down the years than Diego Valeri. Top scorer in the history of this fixture, with 5 goals alongside Fernando Adi. 2 more assists than any other player. One of the main reasons he's playing for Portland in MLS was that he rang up Guillermo Barros Schelotto, who he knew well from his time in Argentina, and asked him whether he should come to MLS back in 2013, and the answer was a resounding yes. Paying for that advice a little later if Valeri can exert a grip on this contest.
Well, you and I caught out of the corner of our eye. There was a throw-in on this near side, and Schelotto and Valeri shook hands, had a bro hug, and then continued on the play. Through the years, just having that conversation with Valeri, he talks so much about Schelotto and that advice, and obviously I think Mara Paulson and the Portland Timbers appreciate that.
Yeah, huge beneficiaries of that. In fact, Sebastian, I think, can lift the lid a little more on that relationship.
Yeah, when we were talking to Barros Schelotto yesterday, he said when he arrived at Lanús in 2012, he realized pretty quickly the relationship between Valeri and the club's directors at Lanús was effectively broken, so he kind of played peacemaker. He knew Valeri would be a good fit in Major League Soccer. He also knew that Lanús would benefit from selling a player that at the time was 26, 27, entering his prime. And really, guys, the rest is Portland Timbers, but also MLS history.
He's been a treat to watch for a long time now.
Well, Seb, the interesting part of that, and John as well, is they're eerily similar type of players. They're creative, but both players could score their fair share of goals.
Alessandrini, there's Ibrahimovic.
Portland knew coming into this one, when the ball gets in these wide channels, there's one thing and one thing only. Where is Zlatan? Find those runners inside the 18. And Zlatan had that one great opportunity where he created something out of nothing. As a whole, other than Dielna's lackadaisical moment, so to speak, they've been pretty solid against Zlatan.
Skjelvik. Ibrahimovic. Verona looking for Felcher, who stumbled. Dos Santos. Leggett. Alessandrini. And Valentin guilty of hauling back the Jet. It's a free kick in a position of interest for the Galaxy.
More often than not, Sebastian Leggett is so comfortable unbalancing defenders in those 1v1 situations. And Zarek Valentin, I think that's an unnecessary foul because Claude Dielna has that cover, and if he slides in, now you're given another dangerous set piece for the LA Galaxy.
The giant Uruguayan Polenta